Hey all my future buyers and sellers out there, I am here to teach you more than you knew before about the real estate process. And you know, if overthinking was an Olympic sport, I would have a wall full of medals. So I understand that you're gonna have a lot of questions in this real estate process. So I thought, what better way to prepare you and make sure you're in the best position possible than to cover these frequent asked questions on YouTube. Let's get into it. Hey, it's Ella with EllaEstateRealty, and welcome back to my channel where I give you all the tips, hints, and hacks you can handle about real estate. Now, as for today's topic, I am inundated with frequent asked questions from buyers that have bought before or first-time home buyers. And it's usually the what-if situations or the vocabulary that they don't understand. So I thought I'd put together a video. Now, this is based off of a seller's market, which right now I'm in the east part of Seattle in Washington State, and it is on fire for one reason or another. So I wanted to touch base on how to better prepare my buyers if they're in a multiple offer situation, if they need to be aware of what contingencies they should be using or what they even mean. So let's get into all these topics and make you into the beast buyer that you should be. First up is earnest money deposit. A lot of people ask me, what is it? Where does the money come from? Who gets the money? Am I paying it to them? And if I back out, they get to keep it. There's a lot of things that go into this because it's a large lump sum and it's one of the first things that your first experience within the real estate process after you get mutual acceptance. Now, it's usually within the first 48 hours, you're depositing it into an escrow account, which is a neutral party watching over it. So not you or the seller gets to touch it, but it's sitting there until you guys are ready. Now, this is an amount that you put down to show the seller that you have skin in the game, that you're serious, that I really want this house, but you know what? I need to get my financing in orders. I need to get the home inspected. I need to get an appraisal first. Wait, I'm serious. I want this house. Don't sell it to anybody else. And this is what I'm putting down. Now, at the end of it, it's used as a credit towards your closing costs. So it's, a deposit, like I said, going towards your house costs. But if you don't perform the way that you signed the contracts to, you can jeopardize or even forfeit your earnest money. The opposite is true, that if something falls apart and the house isn't to your liking through the inspection or these contingencies, the purchase and sale agreement is really built for buyers and assisting them at having a way out. So if it's not to your liking, then you get to get a refund of your earnest money and it goes back in your pocket, which is usually what happens. You kind of got to do something over the top bad for them to keep your earnest money, or it's in your contract because you have a really competitive offer that you will forfeit it no matter what to the seller, saying that you're going to perform no matter what. Now, these are financial ramifications if you're able to lose these large lump sums. Again, this is a discussion that you should be having with your real estate agent before you're putting yourself in this situation, because earnest money, a national average is 1% to 3%, but in a competitive marketplace, people are thinking that it's putting them above the rest, where they're putting 10, 20, 30% down, and trying to make their offer more lovable, more awesome. And when they're putting down these amounts, it just does come with you need to be aware of the outcomes of if you were to lose it, or what you have to do to perform to make sure that you're able to get that refund. So all of those, just being aware of the consequences. Okay, biggest question ever. What happens when I get into a multiple offer situation? What do I do? How much do I spend? Is it okay to compete? And I think we need to rewind and tell you about the possible outcomes of a multiple offer situation. So the seller has a couple different options, but the biggest thing I want you to take away from a multiple offer situation, is that the real estate agent is advising them, but in the end, the seller can make any decision they want. So if they like a buyer off of their family history, or if they really like a price, you never know what they're gonna pick. So don't think that there's one strategy going into things. So the different situations that sellers can take. So they can take the best offer. There's 10, this one's the best, I want it. They can tell all the other 9 offers that this one's the best. How are you going to compete with this one? How are you going to step up your game? They can counter one in saying, oh, this is the one that has all the contingencies we want and the deadlines, and they're open to our move date, but we want a little something else, and counter one. Or they can counter all of them simultaneously. So like I said, lots of outcomes, lots of different ways to go. I will say that the biggest key to a multiple offer situation is communication. So you're reaching out to not only the listing agent, but hopefully the sellers too, hearing a little bit about what they're looking for from the beginning when you're putting in your offer, but also what's the most important, and when you come back with another offer, how to make yours stand out the best. So if you don't have a real estate agent that prides himself on communication, or if you're not going above and beyond what a client should be doing, then I suggest you look around, because the market is fierce, at least where I'm at. Or if you're ever finding yourself in a seller's market, make sure that those things, those attributes are key to your search. So this next question comes to me from buyers that already own a house, and they need to sell their current house so they can roll their net proceeds into buying the next house. It's contingent on them buying it. Now, if you are a buyer putting in an offer in a seller's market where there's not a lot of inventory and you need to be competitive, this is probably not your strongest offer. It's kind of hard to put in, hey, no, you got 10 other offers, but you need to wait for my house to sell and pick me. So I can only give you my professional opinion, but mine would be to put your house up for sale if this is a seller's market, and hopefully you're getting multiple offers and you're able to specify, I need to find my next house before you can take possession of my house, or make, you know, a bigger timeline and work from that standpoint. Now, if it's the opposite way, I guess you would go out and try to buy a house and leverage in a buyer's market, hey, I need to sell my house first. So make sure your timelines align with what would be the most competitive way of taking on these offers, because you don't want to be seen as a weak offer when, you know, it's kind of out of your control. So making sure you're aware of what kind of market you're in and making sure that your agent knows exactly the strategy they should be using is definitely key to this. So one of the biggest what if questions I get in a competitive seller's market from a buyer is, okay, so I've put in my offer and it's way above asking price, and I know I'm competing with a lot of people, but I want to make sure I get this house. So what happens when the bank orders the appraisal and it comes back lower than what I put in for it, and then the house's value? You know, what happens then? Whose responsibility is it to fix this so I can get my financing through, or do I have a way out? And all these are valid questions, you know, it gets a little scary, so I want to walk you through the possible outcomes. The first, being in this market, is that the seller pretty much has the power. So there's definitely things that they can do to help you out, but they don't necessarily need to do that. They can, one, order another appraiser to come out and view the property and get a different perspective, maybe change a couple of things and bring it up to the correct amount so that the purchase price and appraisal meet and your lender approves it. They can, two, lower the purchase price of the house so the appraisal number and the purchase price again meet and you can move forward. Or in your court, you can either invoke your financial contingency saying, okay, the bank won't approve this, so this is too rich for me, I want out of it, and you get your earnest money back. Or, of course, you can pay the difference, which in a competitive market is probably the highest likelihood of situation, unless you're working together with the seller and, you know, they really want to help you out. But to be as competitive as possible, you need to know and be aware of if you're okay with putting more money past the purchase price or coming back with a low appraisal and you want to move forward. Preparing yourself, again, will set you up for success. A term that I hear often, but not everybody knows exactly what it means, is becoming a backup offer or putting in your offer as a backup offer. So again, you're in that multiple offer situation, but somebody else wins instead of you. Now you are in another position. So they are mutual acceptance, you know, they've agreed upon moving forward and they're categorized as the first sale. And then you are chosen to be the backup offer. If anything fails or doesn't follow through, that you would be next in line to purchase the house, the second sale. Now, in this timeline of, them moving through the closing process, maybe takes 60 days, you can still look around for houses and be, fully okay with shopping around, and maybe something else works out, a house even better for a better price, and you just send notice of cancellation. Now, if that first sale does fail and you are up to bat with all your responsibilities, the timeline of due dates, say your inspection, deadlines, and your escrow money that's due for your earnest money deposit, this doesn't start until the first sale fails and they give notice to you. So don't think that you gotta put down your earnest money and you're fully committed to this because you are technically under contract with them, but it's not binding until the first one fails. So you got that contingency waiting. Again, this isn't a multiple offer situation, just in case the first one fails and you just want to wait around to see maybe you'll be next. So the home buying process gets pretty expensive along the way, and one of the first things that tries to get cut is the home inspection. Oh, I don't need that, it's not that big of a deal. But I could talk hours in convincing you that you need one no matter what. Even if you're trying to be competitive and you say it doesn't matter what the home inspection says, I still want the house, still please get it done for peace of mind and insight into your home. The saying goes, if the walls could talk, well, home inspectors listen. They are giving you a report on the structural soundness of the house and the mechanical issues, things to expect. It's very insightful. So why would you go beyond it? Now, if your question is if I should do it, definitely yes. I think I answered that. But if your question is what is it? It's somebody going in and telling you a little bit more about the house. Now, how it plays in the real estate process is that you get a report, it comes back. One, you pay for it out of pocket as a buyer. You get to pick the person, so you can, see which one has the best value of what you're looking for, but I would say you get what you pay for. And two, you can leverage this in negotiations. Now, if you don't have the leverage, then you might end up paying for these repairs or trying to negotiate that you guys split, or one does one and one does the other one. I'll say focus on the bigger items instead of all the meticulous little things. And your other option is that you waive the home inspection contingency, that it doesn't matter what the report says, that you still want the house. You can do this at the beginning to be competitive, but again, still request it. Or you can do this once you get to a level playing field of other people waived it and they're asking you to waive it as well. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. Again, this is a exit for buyers to be able to leave the contract if it doesn't come back accordingly, or there's something devastatingly wrong that nobody knew about and now you do, so you're able to get out. But always perform it and be very wise if you waive this contingency. Then one of the less familiar contingencies or vocabulary would be the title insurance or a title contingency. This is when you say, hey, I want to be able to review the restrictions on the property. I want to be able to review the title insurance, and I want to know a little bit more about if there's any easements on the property. And once I review those things, then I'll tell you if I want to move forward. So that is what the title contingency is. Now, should you have this within your contract? I think it's pretty standard to have it, but a lot of people think it's not that big of a deal and it'll make their offer more enticing. Now, the reason people have it, the specifics on it, is that sometimes a condo or HOA, certain neighborhoods will have a lot more restrictions than you're aware of on the property, and maybe it won't even be right for you. So say you can only have one cat and it can only be, 3 pounds, and you have a really fat cat. Or if you have 6 dogs and they're the love of your life and you move into this house and you're unable to actually have them there. Or you want a really high fence because you pride yourself on privacy, but the HOA says you can only go so tall. Or you want to paint your house bright pink because it sets your soul on fire, but the neighborhood is not okay with that and restricts you from doing that. So these are all things that hopefully you're reviewing, not only Your real estate agent is going over them and pointing out certain things, but you personally are going over these and making sure that the property is for the purpose that you want it to be, and that there's no big restrictions that would put a damper on living there that you would be unable to live with. Again, this is the title contingency, so I always put it in there, but if it's something that you think would help you be more competitive by leaving it out, then just know the differences and the positives and negatives of it. All right, to conclude the video, that was it. I covered, multiple offer situations, title contingencies, home inspection contingencies, backup offers, all those things. So I hope you're in a much better position in today's seller's market. Now, if I missed anything, if you have any topics that you want me to cover, definitely let me know in the comments down below. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every like, every subscribe, every comment, and I hope you're having a terrific day.